This is the AHRMM Subject Matter Expert Podcast, hosted by Justin Poulin. Tune in every month as we speak with industry experts to highlight success stories and solutions from the field that advance the healthcare supply chain. And now, Justin Poulin with this month's expert.
This is Justin Poulin. Joining me now is Josh Andrade, Director of Supply Chain Management at HonorHealth, and we're going to be talking about recruiting new talent into healthcare supply chain today. And there's some really excellent best practices that Josh has to share with us. So Josh, thanks for coming on the AHRMM Subject Matter Expert Podcast today.
Yes, thank you for having me. Like everyone, we're trying to grow our talent and, of course, look for new talent down the pipeline. So there's a lot of great stuff happening. I'm learning from a lot of people, and I've heard of great programs throughout different people in our AHRMM community. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is a consistent conversation out there, and it's not limited to supply chain, but certainly it's impacting supply chain just as much as it is other departments and a lot of the clinicians, shortages around nurses and sterile processing technicians, et cetera. But what I love about our conversation today is you've tackled this in a number of different ways. And I think sharing some of those best practices out there, we've had some discussions around internships and things like that on prior episodes that I think will tie in really nicely here as well. But why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your role with HonorHealth?
So I'm blessed to have earned my position here at HonorHealth. I'm the Director of Supply Chain Management. I oversee 2 of our 6 acute facilities. I've been in leadership for over 20 years. And 15 specifically in healthcare. And what's great about HonorHealth is we believe in partnering with our community. We have built relationships with local colleges and established a military partnership in 2004.
So that partnership is what we're really going to be focusing on in all of those partnerships is what we're going to be focusing on in our discussion today. But also, I think what led to this is you were telling me about the cross-functional organization and pillars of service. And I feel like that really sets up the conversation about why these partnerships as well. Do you want to tell us what that means?
So HonorHealth was a merger between 2 rich organizations in John C. Lincoln and Scottsdale Healthcare. We merged in 2015, and since then we had to restructure and reorganize in a way that we could create standardization throughout the network. And this led to our pillars. Our service lines all report to their individual VP, which again helps with that collaboration and ensuring that we are giving a continuum of care throughout the network. And specifically for supply chain, we created 4 pillars: engagement, innovation, operations, and support services. We had to improve drastically. Since the merger, we've been recognized as a top 25 healthcare supply chain by Gartner in 2021.
Excellent. Congratulations on that. And, I know mergers and acquisitions is something that everybody has gone through over the last decade plus, and it can be a little daunting to get everybody sort of aligned and organized and standardized, and that definitely takes an effort, but it's even harder when you're short-staffed and, you're just trying to get through the day and meet the needs of, the patients that are coming in. And so I think the way that you have approached these partnerships, and there's 3 of them. We're going to be talking about one with Arizona State University, one with Scottsdale Community College, and then Osborne Medical Center, which is a military training program that you mentioned already as we were kind of setting up the conversation. So can you talk about the why for the partnerships, and then maybe we can go high level with all 3 of these and then dive a lot deeper into how this has helped your recruitment efforts?
So the why is simple. You can't do anything great by working by yourself. You need to include others. You need to be involved in the community and learn from those outside of your industry. And so with our military partnership, we created a sim lab that provides realistic medical training using high-fidelity human simulators. We trained over 3,000 soldiers and airmen since 2004. and with ASU, again, partnering with their master's program to build projects to help them with their capstone project. So again, it's an opportunity for us to improve on processes that we currently have and utilize their technology, their learning, and aids us into correcting, again, standardizing our efforts.
Yeah, and like a fresh set of eyes never hurts, right? So you get a little bit more involvement. I think you said process improvement projects that help them, complete their capstone. So there's a win-win there for the student and HonorHealth in that they're getting an opportunity to apply what they've been learning, and you get an opportunity to leverage the technology and their insights on bringing some of those process improvements to life. And that benefits, your healthcare organization as well. That's great. What about Scottsdale Community College? What's kind of the arrangement for that partnership?
We do have a partnership with Scottsdale Community College currently. We work with them with our clinical teams and our pharmacy technicians. So there's currently a pharmacy technician program where they learn about the role, they have time spent at the facility and learn the role as they're earning their degree, and again, future applicant for a position with us. And that brought the idea of supply chain. So that, in addition to what we've learned through AHRMM, is, again, our outreach to the students, those that maybe not have heard of healthcare supply chain. So this is an opportunity for us to really get it out there, teach students that there is an opportunity within healthcare in the supply chain role. A perfect time for us to build this relationship and start to really market supply chain.
And then Osborne Medical Center. So this is a military training program. And I know so many people that come to healthcare supply chain. There are many out there that are listening that have a military background and got their experience in supply chain, during active duty or reserve duty work or guard, and have brought that to healthcare and continued their careers in supply chain. But I like this arrangement as well, because I feel like there's some transition here too. So can you talk about the Osborne Medical Center partnership?
Yeah, so there's an amazing program out there. It's SkillBridge. It's an opportunity for the military to transition into the public sector. So it's an onboarding program that gives them 30 days to really get into the life here in the public sector, of course. Many come from a logistics background, but maybe not into healthcare specifically. So again, it's an opportunity for them to really get their feet wet, learn the role, and understand what it takes to be in supply chain healthcare.
We have actually a podcast on deck that's going to be coming up on a future episode of the Subject Matter Expert podcast series for AHRMM, and we're going to be detailing that SkillBridge program much more fully. So it's great to see that you've leveraged that, and I do think what an important opportunity it is to, transition back to civilian life and have that opportunity to work there. I also know that when you were describing the Scottsdale Community College partnership to me, that they're able to work for credit, for college credit for that program. And so, a win-win is always how these kinds of partnerships thrive and succeed. So how does that work for credit opportunity play out?
So again, another great program where they would go to school part-time, whichever degree that they have. There isn't anything specific. And then they would work, again, into a clinical field or even operations to help aid in not only getting paid by HonorHealth or the organization that they're with, and then getting their credits at Scottsdale Community College.
So I want to talk about internships a little bit, because I mentioned that at the beginning, and, the conversation around setting up internships. I think this is so important. Like you mentioned, there were a lot of students who didn't know that healthcare supply chain was a thing. And, getting to students as they're preparing to graduate and giving them an opportunity to learn and get exposed to healthcare supply chain is really important. I know that your internship programs are obviously not limited to supply chain and your partnerships, but how do those internship programs work to, hopefully help you find people that you're going to hire once they graduate?
So right now, a lot of our internships are built for graduate students. And so we're currently in the process of creating, I would say, entry-level internships for those that are looking for an opportunity to get started in a career. So that's what we're working on now. And this is, again, the great time to work with Scottsdale Community College to build these programs out to, again, market supply chain to those that maybe have never heard of it.
Yeah, it could definitely help you fill that staffing need. But I do think you're touching on something so important is how do we increase awareness for healthcare supply chain? How do we market that this is a destination career? How do we elevate the fact that this is a way for you to come into, something that is meaningful? The work that you do every day has an impact on people's lives. I think you can really find people who are passionate about that, especially when they're young and just getting started in their careers.
Yes, exactly. And what I love about Scottsdale Community College is they're also looking to develop a program, a non-degree program for us to help educate those that are currently in the role to help further their knowledge of AHRMM-specific elements so that we can build their career to a long-lasting and fulfilling career.
So, Josh, I want to end on this, and maybe you could tell the story a little bit. And part of the reason that I want to talk about this as we wrap up is because in some ways you sort of described that you stumbled upon some of these opportunities and started thinking, oh, I didn't know that was there. This would work really well for supply chain. And I want to have some of the audience be thinking about, oh, we might have these same kind of partnerships already in place, and we're just not leveraging them to help us build out our supply chain team and our program. And obviously, again, getting process improvement projects, with students who are trying to complete a capstone. What a great way to add some bandwidth to some of the things that we would like to do that we don't get to. And so how did you stumble upon it? Tell your story so that other people can kind of think, oh, I might be able to follow a similar path and create these if they don't have them in their healthcare organization today.
Well, it was all quite amazing. For one, we had, again, our recruiting issues, concerns, not enough applicants, not enough people showing up to job fairs. So as our team started looking at ways to get out there and being more engaged, we continued those job fairs on site at HonorHealth. But then we started reaching out to local job fairs. And as I attended a job fair near Osborne, that's when I ran into the leaders at Scottsdale Community College. That's when we started discussing the programs, and I found out programs that were already established but may not touched supply chain. So just being at the right place at the right time really worked out for me at that job fair. And at the same time, I ran into another recruiter that was an HonorHealth employee, a military partner employee that was at the same job fair I've never met. But then she started telling me about SkillBridge. So again, right place, right time. I ran into two vital leaders in this evolution of marketing for one, and then again, recruiting for healthcare supply chain.
Great.
It's amazing.
All right, Josh. Well, way to keep your ears open and being a good listener, because when you're listening, you're going to discover some of those opportunities, right? And see how it can help, you and your team continue to thrive, in what I would say has been a pretty stressful time. And the staffing is definitely one of the main contributors to that, and the demands, on our supply chain teams. Thanks so much for coming on to share, some of your best practices and those partnerships. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Just keep working on improving. This is why we're here and what we're looking to do. How can we engage our community to be involved in our outreach? How do we care for our patients? And everything we can do to improve, the better. We can never stay still.
All right, Josh, great job. And thank you everyone out there for listening to this episode of the AHRMM Subject Matter Expert Podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the AHRMM Subject Matter Expert Podcast. For additional resources, visit our website at ahrmm.org. That's AHRMM.org. Tune in next month for another edition of the AHRMM Subject Matter Expert Podcast.